Welcome, everyone, to our weekend wellness hour. And today I have a special guest, Linda Downey, who is joining us today. I met Linda just actually a few weeks ago. Remember when we had Kelly Calabrese talking about intentions? And Kelly mentioned Linda to me and told me a little bit about her background and said, your audience would absolutely love to have her and hear what she has to say. Linda is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, but she's also been a health coach and she's been a personal trainer for over 35 years. She has helped countless people on their health journey and now has a passion for people with chronic health conditions after she had her own journey with 4 autoimmune disorders. And that's quite incredible. A lot of us, we hear about autoimmune conditions, and unfortunately, some of us suffer from 1 or 2 of them, but to go through 4 of them, I thought it was really good to have her on, and especially she can share with us a little bit about her journey, but then also what steps has she taken after that, and how is she helping other people? What she does, I've done a little bit of studies on, and it's not the traditional medicine. So one of the things I like to do with this broadcast is bringing different alternative forms of medicine out there that are not widely known and are not considered traditional, because there are many people who are suffering and they're getting amazing results just by looking at other forms of healthcare. So I want to welcome you, Linda. Thank you for joining us today. And would you mind sharing us a little bit more about your journey?
Thank you. Sure, Dr. Amy, thanks. Yeah, my journey is, it was a lot of unhealth or dis-ease throughout my adult life. And I was like one of the sickest, tiredest, overweight personal trainers you could find. So I had this wellness background, a master's in exercise physiology, and I just was sick a lot. Like I would, headaches, tired every afternoon, fatigue, that I couldn't get through. And so my first autoimmune conditions was diagnosed in my 20s, ulcerative colitis. And now with my background and my training, I understand, I actually have like the perfect pattern to have continued autoimmune conditions, because I just, nobody really addressed why they were happening. And so I'm 55 now. So this was 30 something years ago, right? So my early 20s, ulcerative colitis. And then I had Lyme disease. I had Epstein-Barr virus in high school. But then I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, Graves' disease, which is a hyperthyroidism, and then later on Hashimoto's, which is low thyroid. And so with each diagnosis, I was given some prescriptions, and I was, monitored by a doctor, endocrinologist, or GI, or whatever. But the reason that I kept getting the next one is because when the body doesn't really get what it needs, then the symptoms just keep expressing themselves. So when conventional medicine, and I love conventional medicine doctors for certain things, but in lifestyle or patterns that contribute to illness, they're just not trained in that. So I wasn't getting any information about that. I was getting a prescription. And then my body would say, okay, you're not listening. So now here's the next thing. Okay, you're not listening. And I was a wellness person. I mean, I didn't eat badly. It's not like I ate a ton of fast food. Back in the 80s, I was a triathlete, and that was part of the problem. I over-exercised. But, we did pasta before a race, and we did bagels in the morning because I was doing runs every morning. So we would have bagels. So now I understand that I wasn't eating at all well for me. But at the time, I was a healthy eater. You know what we were told? We were told low fat, right? High carb if you're an endurance athlete. Yep. And I cut out fats while your bile and your gallbladder need fat in order to help your liver get rid of toxins. And I was eating low fat. So put a lot of things in place that just contributed to my escalating bad health, until at one point, was after my Hashimoto's, I was at the doctor and I said, why do I have Hashimoto's? I had Graves' disease. That was hyperthyroidism. Now I have low. I don't understand. And she said, well, that's just sometimes what happens. Like there was no answer. And that's when I was like, you know what? So I love school. I love education. I had a master's already in exercise physiology. So I understood the body to a degree. And I just went back to school, and really for myself to start. And then I was like, hold on. Well, then the whole industry of health coaching started to take place, I would say like 10 years ago. And I was like, hold on, I can't be the only one who's like, wait, what? I could actually be better if I changed like my lifestyle, if I address my stress, if I learn how to manage my body and support my systems. So that's what I did. And I shifted now, and I love what I do now because I help women who struggle with chronic conditions feel better, just like me.
That's absolutely wonderful. So now, do you have any remaining symptoms of any of those autoimmune disorders?
Um, I don't on a regular basis, but if I take my eye off the ball, if I,
Mhm.
let my stress, so, part of like my daily routine is making a commitment to my health in a way that I didn't before. I made a commitment to my fitness because I wanted to be a runner or a triathlete, right? So I made sure I got my runs in. So now I take that same approach to my health, which means
Good.
I go to bed at a certain time, like it's time for bed, like, and I also get up at the same time. I don't let my circadian rhythm be all over the place. I make
Mhm.
sure that I meditate every day. And if I don't feel well or if I'm overwhelmed, I meditate more, not less, because I don't have the time, right? So there's things, if I take my eye off the ball, then I know my thyroid will respond. So I
Yeah.
just need to, and that's also things like going, oh, I could just eat this. I can eat things every so often that aren't great for me if I just have it once. But if I go, oh, this and then this and then this, and now it becomes 4, 5, 6 times, then I go, I don't feel well, which is great
Yeah.
because it's my body telling me, hold on, what are you doing?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I know one thing I tell people is when they have some type of pain around their body, I say, pain is not a bad thing. It's your body's communication system to your brain that something is out of position. And so you use it in a different way with your health. You're feeling, different symptoms that are related to your thyroid or other, endocrine systems. And you use that. And so one of my pushes is our body talks to us all the time. And it's a matter of not only just listening, but finding the right person who can translate what your body is saying to help you make a change in your lifestyle, food, nutrition, what have you. So I find this is very powerful. What you're saying, you listen to your body and you put in the time and the effort to get the education for it, which is very commendable. And now you're able to help so many other people. Yay.
yeah,
So, can you tell us a little bit about functional medicine and your degree as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner?
sure. So a functional approach just says, let's look at the body and how it interacts with itself as a complete organism. So
Mhm.
everything, we are a biological organism, and everything that's happening inside is related. So it's very different than a conventional approach because when you have skin issues, you go to a dermatologist and they only know the skin. Or you have ulcerative colitis, you go to a GI doctor and they just know the gut. Etc. Right? So this says what's happening in your skin has a lot to do with what's happening in your gut. There's a reason why things are showing up. So it's not this different expertise of a specialist, and nobody talks to each other. It's really like it's not that complicated. It's like we have this body with systems that are designed to work together and support each other. And so when you look through that window, it's just looking, if you look out of the front window of your house, you see the street in front of your house. We're looking out
Mhm.
the backyard. We're looking out a different window of your property to the backyard and saying, what's going on underneath? So that's a functional approach. And a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. So we're trained to work with people in their lifestyle choices. So their food. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't design diets for people, but I help them in their food choices. Like these are the foods that we know support a healthy gut. These are the foods that support your
Gotcha.
liver, etc. So I help them with lifestyle choices, food, stress management, exercise, rest, all of that, getting rid of trauma in their body. Um, and to coach up optimal function and to coach down dis-ease or health issues. And so we look at
Mhm.
what are the hidden causes. And so the diagnostic piece of that, and FDN, the diagnostic piece means I'm trained in suggesting labs for my clients and then interpreting those labs to figure out what's going on. Because food is great, but it'll only do so much. If you've got parasites, if you've got heavy metals and other toxins, you've got to go further and figure out why someone's not getting better. So that's the diagnostic piece.
Okay. Can we kind of go into metals and parasites a little bit? So we hear mercury toxicity. That's like a common one that we hear. Let's dive into metals a little bit first. What are some things that you look at? How do you test for that? Kind of, if you can give us an overview so people, and even some symptoms that might lead someone say, okay, you know what, I need to go see you, Linda.
So, so metals can be held in the body, in the tissues of the body, if the liver is overtaxed, and we live in a culture where there's just so much environmental toxicity, from our cleaning products to, the processed food that we eat, everywhere around us, right? So the liver can't always keep up, and then things start to remain in the body. And so metals can remain in the body. Mercury is a common one because a lot of us, when we were kids, that was what was used in our fillings. And so then the mercury leached into the tissues in the mouth. But also, just if you live in places, people like lead paint was used in buildings, right? Cadmium is sometimes a problem. And also birth control pills. Birth control pills, I don't know why copper is in birth control pills, but it is. And typically women who have been on birth control, especially for a long time, have heavy metal toxicity. And it's oftentimes, and in our bodies, copper and zinc need to work together, like they're synergistic. And zinc is really important. And zinc is one of the main important ingredients for the thyroid. And so when you have too much copper, it competes for where zinc would like to go and do its job. And so birth control pills have become a problem. A lot of people, have that issue if they've been on that before. So we have to, so the labs, to answer your question, you can do a hair analysis. There's a few different labs you can do, but typically we do like a hair analysis. And
Okay.
and also if people have inflammation that's staying in their body. So when I work with a client, we start to go to, the elimination system of their body, making sure they're getting rid of stuff. Then are they detoxifying their body? Are they draining their body? And if we're doing all of that and they're still not getting well, we suspect that we have to go deeper, and that maybe they are being consistently in contact with something in their environment, like heavy metals. And is inflammation staying up? Because inflammation will stay elevated if we're not clearing something. So those are the things we look for. And then we do those labs, and then we have to use products to help them detoxify and pull those metals out.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. So this is a little personal side note, is the whole birth control toxicity. I suffered from that. And a lot of people don't know this, but back in 2015, I was going through a horrible health journey. So I woke up and I had no energy. I felt lethargic around 2:00 in the afternoon. I just felt like I couldn't move. And my heart rate had dropped really low. And it was also kind of a time where I was working on regulating my breathing with the technique that I teach, but I was all over the place. I was all over Mayo. They couldn't figure out what was going on with me. My hormones were off, and they did the cortisol, they checked cortisol levels, and they did the dexamethasone suppression test. So different tests that look at the cortisol levels, and they were coming back bad. And I met one endocrinologist who said, you know what, are you on birth control? I said, yes. He said, we're taking you off of it. I suspect that your body is reacting, because they were going to diagnose me with Cushing's disease. And I said, I've been on it for, I think at that point was 6 years. And he said, let's get off of it. And so I already know that I have a really long half-life with medications. And so things stay in me a lot longer. So after 5 or 6 weeks, we repeated the dexamethasone test, and it still wasn't great. And he's like, you know what, let's go a little bit longer. And we did. And I started to feel myself become alive again. Like everything about me had dulled. Emotions had dulled. I'd see a puppy and I'd be like, okay, a puppy. Before that, I was a huge animal lover. but I became so toxic. And then it just took some time to come out of that toxicity. It took a good couple years to actually feel normal again and not have that toxicity. And I'm sure even now there's probably still some remaining in there, but that's a huge issue for many women, younger
Yes.
women who go through these things, and they don't, I have to say, no, I saw 10, 15 doctors. None of them had said anything about birth control toxicity. None of them had even thought of that.
Yeah,
So,
again, it's not how they're trained to look at.
yeah.
And I think also doctors really prescribe birth control really quickly for young girls.
Mhm.
Oh, your period's a little irregular, we'll just put you on the
Yep.
pill or
Yep.
whatever. And, or you just don't want to get pregnant, well, you go on the pill. And then, it just causes a lot of other problems. I mean, your
Mhm.
hormones are just balanced and they're constantly reacting to what your body is dealing with, and information coming in and throws hormones off. So I'm sorry to hear
Yeah.
that. I didn't know that about you at all, but I'm glad you're on the other side of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something that I told a lot of people at the time because I couldn't figure it out. But since then, I've talked to people, and it was funny because when I tried birth control one other time, it gave me a pulmonary embolism and a blood clot in my lungs.
Oh my
And
gosh.
this was right before it was an Ortho Evra patch. And right before that, or right when that happened, the doctor, it was a pulmonologist who figured it out and said, get off of it immediately. And that was when they came out with all the warnings about it. And so then fast forward a decade, I was running, I was having irregular cycles, and they said, let's go on the birth control. And right away, I felt a response. And after that, I didn't want to get on it, but the doctor said, nope, just stay on it, just push through it and stay on it. And so I did. And so I just adjusted. But I have to say, like, I didn't know to listen to my body. It wasn't in my repertoire of tools and skills. It was to listen to my body first over anyone else. And so that's one of the things that I love to hear what you're saying is there are so many other things to test and look at. And so we just have to listen to our body. So I appreciate you coming on and discussing all this because it's an important topic.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to say too, was that?
I just said I think so too. I think it's
Yeah.
important because we sort of live unconsciously. Our culture is hit the ground running. The alarm goes off and you're running, and we are not paying attention. We're shoving stuff in our mouth. I ate on the run for years and years, and drive through while you're driving, while you're talking. It's just no mindful eating, not carefully chewing, the digestive system. That's just one example, but we don't pay attention to our bodies because we're so externally focused on, what we're trying to accomplish, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it brings on the other topic that you were talking about was parasites. So I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit about that? What are some of the symptoms people have that they, think they should get tested and reach out to you?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of people when they start to work with me have gut issues, GI issues, meaning they are bloated or they have gas or certain foods. They notice a lot of food insensitivities. Um, and also there's things that don't seem to be at all related to the gut, like joint pain or skin issues that people have, but those are really, markers that something's going on in their gut. So I'm in a couple of different practitioner groups. Like every week I participate. So I'm constantly learning and I'm hearing other practitioners, what they're doing with their clients. And so I know that there's a big community of people who feel like we all have parasites, even if you did a lab test and it came up negative. That we live in a culture, you can't be a biological organism on this earth and not have them. So that's one train of thought, but
Okay.
I certainly see that a lot of people do have them. And so parasites set up home in your gut and they live off of you. They steal your nutrients. They can burrow in the lining of your gut, and that damages the lining. So now things that shouldn't be getting into your bloodstream are, or you're not absorbing your nutrients. They create a whole host of problems. So that's a big place. And we always start with the gut, what's going on in the gut. What do your labs say? And that's the first place to go to work. And then we can sort of move from there, at least in my approach.
Okay. That's wonderful. So Where are we getting the parasites? Is there any consensus on that? Is it in the food we eat or the water we
Everywhere.
drink? Or
You could go swim in a lake and get
okay.
giardia. You can
Yeah.
be digging in your garden. You can, if you're a kid, when I was a kid, my dad had a great garden and I used to like go out there and dig worms while he would be, but the parasites are in the soil. If you have a
Yeah.
dog, a lot of animals, when I was in my 20s, I rescued a dog. She was totally from like a stray. A stray had puppies in my area. I got all the puppies, big animal lover like you. And I kept
Mhm.
one and she had worms and all this stuff. Well, I remember her sitting in the car next to me and, I'd have some coffee and I'd put it down and she'd drink out of my coffee. And I thought that was so great. I was like 24 and, I'd have an
Mhm.
ice cream, I'd lick some, I'd give her some. So, yeah, not too hard to get parasites when you're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was listening to a podcast. Have you ever heard of Dr. Zach Bush?
Yeah.
He's
Yes, you've got a great
okay.
product.
So I've
Mhm.
Okay, so he talks about your gut microbiome and the
Mhm.
ecosystem living in there, and he talks about playing in the soil and stuff. So I imagine there are some benefits of playing in the soil, but then there are some detractors. I mean, just like anything else in life, there's kind of a moderation of what our activities are and what we should do. Is there? Do you have any thoughts on that in terms
I
of
do.
your
I mean,
gut?
well, to me, what's even the biggest culprit is our food supply,
Mhm.
and what we eat. Because what lives and thrives in your gut depends on what you eat, because you're
Yeah.
feeding them. So if you're eating processed foods, if you're eating foods that aren't grown in good nutrients, if you're eating foods that have been sprayed with glyphosate, which everything in our food supply, right, is,
Mm.
then that's what's going into your gut. And so it's like looking at your garden and there's pretty flowers and there's weeds. And what are you feeding? And if the weeds really take over the flowers, now you've got a problem. So,
Mhm.
so it's not so much, oh, did I play in the garden, in the dirt too much when I was little, but what am I doing to support the balance of my gut microbiome so that it's healthy? When you have a healthy immune system, when you eat well, when you avoid pesticides, then you're telling the good bacteria to thrive, and then they can handle the bad bacteria. Your body can do the balance, but when you don't give it what it needs, then bad stuff takes over.
Yeah. So do you recommend then all organic foods, or are you okay with like the Dirty Dozen you focus on, or what's kind of your take on this?
I think if you can afford it, try to eat as much organic as you can.
Yeah.
And the Dirty Dozen is a great list, because if people have to pick and choose, then at least let
Mhm.
me know that I'm going to make the right choices, right? Like bananas, you're going to peel the peel off. So maybe that's less important. Strawberries
Mhm.
are highly sprayed pesticides, right?
Yeah.
Fruit. So,
Yeah.
and I think we're seeing a lot of people start to set up their own gardens, their own little patches of even pots if you live in an apartment, right? Just growing your
Mhm.
own stuff of the things that you eat a lot of is great. And we need to return back to eating locally. A big reason why things are sprayed is because they're being delivered from thousands of miles away, off season, eat seasonally and locally. That's what our bodies, are meant to do. We are in connection with the earth, same thing as our circadian rhythm. So
Yeah.
it all kind of comes together, in my opinion. And not everybody can afford to eat organically, but just to try to do the best that you can and wash stuff if you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious with the circadian rhythm, you were mentioning earlier that you go to bed at a certain time and you get up at a certain time. Do you adjust that with the seasons? So when the sun rises, you get up kind of right after sunrise, or do you keep it steady throughout the year and just have like really thick blinds over your windows?
No, I think the human body, back when we, didn't have houses to live in and electricity, right? The human beings lived out on the earth, and the sun determined our schedules. When the sun went
Hmm.
down, the sun went down. There was no light bulb to turn on, right? And when the sun came up, it
Yep.
came up. So that's how our brains, the melatonin in our brains is, derived from the sunlight coming in. It's actually really critical. And it would be great to get yourself in contact with the sun within 30 minutes of waking up. with daylight, even if it's sitting
Mhm.
by a window or going for a walk. So it can change with the seasons. In winter, if it's not going to be light out until 7, that's different than in summer, and it's getting light out at 5:30. So I do adjust it. Sure.
That's all wonderful. And do you shoot for the standard 8 hours of sleep, or do you modify it based on your body's needs?
I modify it based on my body's needs.
Yeah.
And I think that's again part of listening to your body. Um, what's going on in life? How stressed are you? How well have you been eating? How hydrated are you? So interesting. I used to really feel fatigue, and I finally realized a lot of times dehydration to me shows up as
Yeah.
fatigue. So I'll
Yeah.
notice, am I tired? And if I start drinking water, oh, I'm not that tired. I was dehydrated. But just paying
Yeah.
attention to what are my days like, and then, you know, adapting accordingly. But I like to start my day meditating. So I actually like to start at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and meditate for an hour before I get up. So it's
Mhm.
still dark then a lot of times. But I want it dark because I'm meditating and I'm keeping my eyes closed and etc.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. I wanna talk a little bit more about hormones and the whole stress response. So, what are some of the hormones that you look at that kinda determine your stress response and how to get out of that? What are some of the important ones?
Well, cortisol is
Mhm.
when your brain perceives stress, and that can be emotional stress, a traffic jam, an argument. It can also be parasites. It can also be heavy metals. Those things are
Okay.
causing stress in your body. Um, or foods that you're intolerant of that you're eating. When we run like a hormone panel and a food
Mhm.
sensitivity test, and we look and we see, a pattern in the hormones that doesn't follow the expected pattern, and cortisol like shoots up later in the day. Well, what was that person eating? Maybe they ate foods that they were intolerant of, not even realizing it. So
Mhm.
that's the correlation there. But to answer your question, so cortisol is released because when your body experiences or perceives stress, then we go into either fight, flight, or freeze, right? That's the way that we handle stress: fight, flight, or freeze. And so cortisol does a lot of things. Number one, it numbs our pain so that if we have to run or fight, it raises our blood sugar so that we have the energy to do what we need to do, raises our heart rate and to pump oxygen and blood so we can do those fight or flight. But if you're sitting in meetings all day and what's annoying you is your coworker and you're not getting up and running, now those things are staying elevated just because you're, annoyed.
Mhm.
And now that's a problem. That's the cardiovascular system is getting taxed by your blood pressure going up and your heart rate going up, and that cortisol is not being released. So, that's the biggest obvious player. And then cortisol, when it goes up, it decreases your body's ability to use insulin, so that keeps your blood sugar up. It also impacts your thyroid hormone metabolism. So the metabolic pathway of making your thyroid hormones get disrupted by cortisol. So we can see now it's affecting your blood sugar regulation. It's affecting your thyroid hormones. It's affecting your cardiovascular system. So yeah, it's a big place to go to work. People don't
Yeah.
realize, oh, yeah, 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 stress. Aren't we all stressed? Well, yeah, and look at the condition that we're all in, right?
Yeah, we're all trying to find that pill just to get us out of whatever uncomfortable state we're in, and sometimes we fear changing our life because we don't know what's on the other side, and if we get around enough people who are talking about what's on the other side as soon as you change, it's more inspiration to keep going with it. So,
Yeah, it's true.
yeah. So what do you also look at DHEA and melatonin, some of the other
Yeah,
hormones that
we
affect us?
run, yeah, we run a Dutch test is the hormone panel that we
Okay.
run, and that stands for dried urine total comprehensive hormones. So it's a in-home urine test. And
Okay.
that does look at, it's a really great test. It comes back with a lot of information. And as an FDN, I'm not a doctor. So when my clients' labs come back in, I do medical consult with my medical board so that, I get that input. And then I say to the client, this is what we see. This is how we interpret your labs. This is what we suggest. And then they get to choose. They could go to their doctor and say, I want you to handle this, or they could say, okay, I'm going to go the way you want. But my role is really to educate, right? To give them as much education about how they can reverse these things, and then they get to choose.
That's wonderful. And then you also do stool tests as well. That's part of it, right? For the parasites.
Yes,
Okay.
parasites, dysbiosis, which means good to bad bacteria. It also looks at gut health, the integrity of the lining of the gut. It can tell inflammation. It can tell viruses, some viruses and infections, yeast and fungus. A lot of information comes back in the stool test too.
Wonderful. And so now when you're working with someone, do you do it as a virtual consultation, and then you recommend after your evaluation of that person, do you recommend these tests, or how does all that work if people want to get involved now?
Yeah, so they could set up a call with me, and I would just listen to what their history is and see if it's a match for what we do, and then if so, we have a program that looks at all of these components that we've talked about, and it's very comprehensive, and it includes all of the labs that we talked about, and actually some we didn't talk about, but we run about 5 different labs with the clients. We have a 12-week protocol working on their food choices, their behavior, their stress, and we use supplements to support the gut, clear out the bad bacteria, help the liver decongest and move the bile. So it's a very comprehensive program, 12 weeks, but also for most people, we're actually working together with them for several months, longer than the 12
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah. And how quickly do people start to feel changes when they start doing these other supplements and changing their lifestyle? Is this something they start feeling a change within a week, a couple weeks, a month?
Some clients really do, like in the first 2 weeks, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to, I mean, it's not like things are fixed, but they start to
Yeah.
notice, you know what, my brain fog isn't as prevalent, or I'm starting to have more energy, or my sleep. And what's so interesting, Amy, or Dr. Amy, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
is, you know, like I had a client we started in November, late November, Christmas time. She's like, she has fibromyalgia, chronic pain, was exhausted. She's like, oh, I'm biking and hiking with my grandchildren. I feel great. Okay. Fast forward, now it's the end of January, and we're on a one-on-one, because I do a lot of client support. I'm with them. I'm working with them, on a weekly basis. And she was like, I'm not feeling so great. My pain's back. I'm like, okay, let's talk about what you've been doing. She's like, well, we were roasting marshmallows, and after church, we went and had so I go, you know what? That's actually great news, because now you see, the second that you take your eye off the ball and you start to have some of those foods, what happens? Your pain flared up. So it's just good learning your body, and seeing that, and then we're still working together so that I can help her get back on track, which I think is
Mhm.
important.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And that's one good thing about when you start a new program, it's not going to be perfect. We're always going to make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are some of the most valuable times in doing a new program, because you learn about your body even more, and you learn truly what your body doesn't like. And you start that communication system between your body and your brain, and you consciously become aware of, oh, I'm not supposed to do that now, or take that, or eat that. And it's really, I feel like it's this ballet or this dance that as we go through life, we're continuing learning about our body, and it's a period of growth. And if we can continue viewing it that way, then we also realize that we have the potential to change how we feel. And like you did, come out of 4 different autoimmune disorders. I mean, that's so inspirational. It's wonderful.
Thank you. But it was just my body kept saying, "You're not listening. Okay, here's the next one." That's all. And people who have autoimmune conditions do tend to get diagnosed with more as time goes on, and that's
Mhm.
why. But you just have to balance the core systems. But I was going to say
Yeah.
something when you're. Oh, the other thing that I think it's important, yes, like listening to your body, but reframing how you view your choices and seeing it as an opportunity. So many people are like, I was bad this weekend. Oh, I ate really bad, and really have it be they're good or they're bad. Oh, just the way that they view themselves. So really reframing their thought patterns, I think has been important.
That's good because I often hear that we use good and bad, like you're saying, and we use emotionally laden words that then influence us. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza, how he talks about how you think determines your brain neurochemistry, which determines your actions and your thoughts. And there's a cycle that we get into. And one of the things I do work with people is when we're talking about stressors is I celebrate with them when a pain shows up and say, "No, this is great information. Now we know. Your body doesn't like that to be in that position. We need to change it." And like you said, trying to get rid of just this good and bad label and not be a finite end of the story, we can reframe and change and actually make a difference in our own lives and kind of banish some of those subconscious thoughts that have driven us in a certain path for so long. But
Yeah, I think so. I choose to look at it that way. Yep.
yeah. So now you have a free masterclass. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And I have it written down there, the website that people need to go to join that. What will people learn in this masterclass?
Oh, thanks for putting that on there. Yeah, it's about a 45-minute class, and it just talks about this approach. So,
Okay.
these pillars that we look at to help somebody restore health. So their gut, their liver, their mindset, running the right labs. So it just is a general overview. And I think a lot of times people don't, because they've been going to conventional doctors, they'll say, I have this, I have pain here. What should I do for my adrenals? What should I do? And it's like, let's take a step back. Let's look at the whole big picture. That's what the class really says. Let's look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
And this is our approach. And if that makes sense to you, then let's get on a call and see if you're a good fit for what we do.
That's wonderful. I know that a lot of people could really benefit from that. And I appreciate you having that available. And some of our listeners, hi Jeff and Laura. I'm sure they're going to be interested in getting onto that class just to learn more. Because when we have chronic conditions and the doctors tell us that there's no hope, it's good to have other resources and just to find out. Okay, obviously the lifestyle and your body led you to where you are now. So there has to be some adjustments if you want to change the outcome of where you're at right now. And so having people like you in their life would be a really good benefit. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else that you'd like to share with our audience today before we wrap up?
Yeah, the last thing I would just like to leave everybody with is just really owning in their heart that they can decide what's in front of them. They can choose, what their health future is going to be, what their life future is going to be, right? And not just their health, but just like you can decide if I want to put my house up for sale and move somewhere else. You have that ability to really decide and own. It's not a life sentence when you get a diagnosis at all. So
Yeah.
I think just living from that is so helpful. Start there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate having you on today. And thank you for spending your Saturday, well, afternoon for you, with us. And guys, please go to Linda's website. So it's organichealthjourney.com is her main website. It tells about her and the programs that she has. But to get the masterclass, put a slash on that website and add masterclass, and you can get her free masterclass. She would be a great person to keep in touch with because she's helped so many people. I read some of the testimonials on her website. Definitely want to take her advice. So please check her out. And thank you again for joining us today, Linda.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amy. It was really fun to chat with you. I can't wait to have you come talk to my people about what you do.
Can't wait. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you again next weekend for our weekend wellness hour, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye, guys.